Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. In today's video we're going to continue on with the update 1.44 car reviews, moving on to the Lamborghini Urus. I would definitely say overall this is perhaps the most divisive car that I've ever seen enter Gran Turismo 7. I feel like the majority of the player base have really kind of turned the nose away at it, saying that, you know, it doesn't really fit the bill when it comes to a circuit racing games, and then others kind of saying that, okay, it's more SUVs and we really need more of them. It does seem that there's kind of two parties here, one that loves it and the other that just outright hates it. So as always with the car reviews, we're going to start off with the price point itself. This is perhaps one of the cheapest Lamborghinis in the game at 300,000 credits. As you can see, it's the Lamborghini Urus 2018, 549.11 pp, four-wheel drive, 641 brake horsepower, weight is 2,197 kilograms, and it is turbocharged. So on paper, it looks like it has a ton of power, but also obviously a ton of weight that comes with an SUV. And as you can see, just from the car icon, it's absolutely massive in comparison to the rest of the Lamborghinis. So as always, we're going to start off with the stock review. I'm going to take it for a hot lap around the Nordschleife. We're going to see where it ranks, and I'll give you some, I guess, general opinions on the car itself in its standard form. However, because this is an SUV and is multi-purpose, I'm actually going to be reviewing it both fully upgraded on the circuit as well as on dirt and snow as well, so we can see where it ranks alongside the likes of the Suzuki Jimny, which kickstarted that category back in January of this year. So it's a bit of a strange one for me. The Lamborghini has me in two minds. There's my own personal opinion on the real world vehicle of the Lamborghini Urus, and then there's the in-game version in Gran Turismo 7. For me, when it comes to my personal opinion, I absolutely hate that supercar manufacturers are going ahead and making these very dull and boring SUVs. Regardless of how much power you put in it, regardless of how much luxury you put in it, it is still an SUV, even if you want to class it as a super SUV. It really doesn't tickle my taste buds, and it's not the kind of vehicle that I would personally gravitate towards. However, when it comes to Gran Turismo 7, I will admit that I do enjoy the vehicle. I do find it pretty different, and it is a nice change of pace. There's a ton of weight in this thing, you can really feel it, and I feel like that kind of transfer from the real world vehicle to in-game have actually really done a decent job when it comes to polyphony, you know, kind of putting that feeling in there that this isn't just an ordinary supercar, it is certainly a super SUV. It feels powerful, it feels weighty, and I do feel like the way that they've put it in game is actually rather impressive. So with my personal opinion and my in-game opinion out the way and done with, let's talk about the standard version of the Lamborghini Urus. Is it that bad in game? Now, the first thing that surprised me is that the power this thing actually puts out, it actually feels like it's doing. So a lot of cars with a ton of power output really can't necessarily handle it, and they feel just a little bit off. I did find that with the Lamborghini Urus, that whole 600 plus brake horsepower was actually being put to its full potential. It does feel like it's enough power to drag along this very, very heavy vehicle. Now, the main downside of the standard version is, you probably guessed it, the weight and handling. Whilst it is nice and weighty feeling and it does feel like a super SUV, definitely the handling is let down by that overall weight when it comes to circuit-based racing. It isn't going to kind of win any awards for being able to, you know, smash through the corners. However, with the four-wheel drive system in place, it can certainly handle its own. It's not terrible, but it's definitely a completely different style of handling, and it really isn't that good considering it's hauling about over 2,000 kilograms of weight. So overall, the standard Lamborghini Urus is not necessarily worth the 300,000 credits. However, if you do want to put upgrades on it, then you will certainly get your money's worth. This is actually a fantastic car to hit the 700 to 600 pp mark. Overall, you're going to be getting a lot of bang for your buck, considering that upgrades don't really massively put this car right through the roof. Now, in terms of its overall lap times, as you can see, it sits on sports hard compound of tyres, sits at 549.11 pp, and did it in a time limit of 7 minutes 40.154. putting it overall 11th in the 600 pp category, behind the likes of the Porsche 959, Dodge Viper SRT 10 and the Tesla Model 3. It did beat some fairly decent cars like the Dodge Viper GTS from 2002. Next up, we're going to move on to the fully upgraded version. Now, I do all of my fully upgraded reviews at the high speed ring. However, when it comes to the fully upgraded cars, I don't allow myself to fine tune, and there's a good reason for that. A lot of cars will just become very, very fast in comparison to others, and it wouldn't be a real fair comparison. So in terms of the Lamborghini Urus, the main problem here is the fact that it does dips way too low. So basically what happens is the wheel will catch up in the wheel arch and it does affect its turning. However, the main reason you're going to want to put the upgrades on is its top line speed. It is very, very quick, and there's nothing funnier than watching yourself absolutely haul an SUV around at 200 plus miles per hour. It is absolutely ridiculous. So in terms of that, it really does feel like a decent car. However, I wouldn't fully recommend going for a full upgraded build. In terms of, almost fully upgraded, a very good 700 pp build is available for this car. Same with 600 as well. You can get a lot of straight line speed for the likes of Tokyo and absolutely be able to smash that one whether you're wall riding or taking it normally. So in terms of the Lamborghini Urus, in terms of the overall fully upgraded, it comes in 14th, which really isn't too bad. It beats the likes of the Subaru Impreza, the Honda Civic and the Audi TTS Coupe. However, it does lose out to like the GAC Maverick and the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 9, as well as the likes of the Dodge Viper SRT 10 Coupe once again. Overall, fully upgraded, it can't hit its full potential, obviously due to not being able to fine tune, but once you do start fine tuning this car, there is a lot of good performance available for it. Overall, not too bad at all. So on the tarmac at least, the Lamborghini has absolutely exceeded my expectations. However, with this being an SUV and marketed as such, we're going to take it off-road to face it up against the Suzuki Jimny on both dirt and snow. And we're going to have the dirt first. This is honestly where this car absolutely comes alive. I was very, very surprised that at fully upgraded power potential just on the dirt tyres, that this car handled the dirt extremely well. It was very weighty enough to handle all of the jumps. In terms of the, handling and such like that, very, very good with that four-wheel drive system. The main downside though is the sheer amount of power. If you are going to go for a dirt build, I fully recommend just kind of keeping the power around where it is naturally and go more into the suspension, gearbox and the weight reduction changes. Again, over 600 to 700 brake horsepower is ridiculous on dirt, so definitely keeping it more towards the standard power output will absolutely benefit you. So here at Fisherman's Ranch, the car was able to tackle pretty much everything, really being able to stretch its legs on that big straight at the back end of Fisherman's Ranch, and then in the corners again the handling was absolutely spot on. So at least on dirt, whilst it is a little bit too powerful for the tight and twisty sections, it will manage to handle them fairly well. In terms of the jumps, once again it is going to handle them very, very well. So on dirt at least, again, it does exceed my expectations. So far when it comes to the Lamborghini Urus, this thing's fantastic. In standard version, it's quite fun to drive, nothing absolutely mind-blowing, and it's definitely not a world beater. Tuned to 600 to 700 pp, it's absolutely fantastic. Fully upgraded, it's an absolute hoot. And obviously in terms of the dirt, again, rather quite good, if a little bit too powerful. As we can see from the times, it does it in a 3 minutes 9.581. Absolutely smashing the fully upgraded Suzuki Jimny XC, which came along in the January update, as we'd naturally expect it to. Maybe not by that big margin though. So obviously next up will be the snow version review, and you'd expect it to carry on that absolutely pretty stellar performance all around off-road, right? Well, wrong. For me, this was absolutely the massive weak point for the Lamborghini Urus. One of the main fun features of these SUV vehicles is the fact that they can typically handle almost any condition. However, when it came to the snow, the Lamborghini with its fully upgraded potential, weight reduction fully stripped out, just absolutely felt horrible. Again, maybe with a bit of fine tuning it would be different, but this much power on the snow just seemed like the car was just constantly struggling. It really wasn't a fun time. However, that means that the Lamborghini Urus is pretty fantastic in every single form at every single type of location apart from the snow, which again, we only actually have one single track in, so it is probably the least of the useful builds when it comes to the vehicle. However, overall, the Lamborghini Urus, massively better than I expected, but certainly not my favourite. So to answer the question of does this car genuinely suck, is it really that bad if we're in the kind of camp that doesn't like these vehicles? No, it is actually rather quite decent. In an in-game sense, I still don't massively rate it in person. As you can see, when it comes to the snow, this one only just managed to edge out the Suzuki Jimny, which really should have been a massively easy feat. So in my opinion, I went into this review with as much of an open mind as I possibly could. And whilst my personal opinion is that supercar brands turn into these big SUVs and trying to cater to a more less enthusiast market to obviously make up profit to fund the supercars is always a good thing, I still absolutely hate the idea that Lamborghini are putting out a very basic SUV when we look at the likes of the late 90s where they were putting out that massive sort of Humvee type of Lamborghini, which is never really spoken about. So it isn't their first forte in it, but for me, the Lamborghini Urus is always just going to be an SUV in a dress. It's nothing that special. But in terms of in-game performance, I can hold my hands up and say, do you know what? This car is much more useful than it had any right to be. I don't hate it in GT7. It's rather quite good. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if you can hear all the wind in the background, by the way. It's just kind of like, I guess, a bit of a storm brewing up over here where I am in the UK. And apologies if I sound a little bit off. I'm just kind of a little bit under the weather today. So apologies for that one. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.